Imagine a world where your very existence is a crime, where your people are enslaved, their spirits crushed under the weight of oppression. This was the reality for the Israelites in ancient Egypt, a people yearning for freedom. Their hope dwindled with each passing generation, their cries for deliverance seemingly unanswered. But in this darkness, a light began to flicker, a man named Moses, whose destiny was intertwined with his people's liberation. Pharaoh, fearing the growing number of Israelites, issued a cruel decree. All newborn Hebrew boys were to be thrown into the Nile River, a desperate attempt to control their population. In this perilous time, Moses was born. His mother, Jochebed, desperate to save him, hid him for 3 months. When she could no longer conceal him, she devised a daring plan. She crafted a basket of bulrushes, waterproofed it, and placed her baby inside. She set it adrift on the Nile, entrusting him to the river's currents and the will of God. The basket was discovered by Pharaoh's daughter, who was moved by the child's cries. She rescued him and, in a twist of fate, raised him as her own son, an Egyptian prince. Moses grew up in the lap of luxury, unaware of his true heritage. He received the finest education, enjoying all the privileges of the Egyptian court. But as Moses matured, he began to witness the harsh treatment of the Hebrew slaves. A growing unease stirred within him, a sense of injustice he could no longer ignore. One day, he saw an Egyptian taskmaster beating a Hebrew slave. Consumed by righteous anger, Moses intervened, killing the Egyptian. Fearing Pharaoh's retribution, Moses was forced to flee Egypt. He became a fugitive, abandoning the life of privilege he had always known. Moses sought refuge in Midian, a land far from the splendor of Egypt. He became a shepherd, tending flocks in the vast wilderness. He met Zipporah, the daughter of Jethro, a priest of Midian. They married and built a family, finding solace in their simple life. Yet the echoes of his people's suffering continued to haunt him. The memory of their bondage weighed heavily on his heart. One day, while tending his flock near Mount Horeb, Moses encountered a sight that would change his life forever. He saw a bush engulfed in flames, yet it was not consumed. Drawn closer by this strange phenomenon, he heard a voice calling out to him from the burning bush. "Moses, Moses," the voice exclaimed. The voice identified itself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He had seen the affliction of his people in Egypt and had come down to deliver them. God commissioned Moses to return to Egypt and demand Pharaoh to let his people go. It was a daunting task, one that seemed impossible. Moses, overwhelmed by doubt, questioned his ability to lead. He felt inadequate, unworthy of such a monumental task. God reassured him, promising to be with him and guide him every step of the way. He would provide the words and the power necessary to confront Pharaoh. Empowered by God's promise, Moses returned to Egypt with his brother Aaron. They gathered the elders of Israel and shared God's message of hope and deliverance. Then they went to Pharaoh and delivered God's demand. "Let my people go, so that they may hold a festival to me in the desert." Exodus 5:1. Pharaoh, hardened by pride and arrogance, refused to listen. He dismissed the God of Israel and intensified the Israelites' suffering. God unleashed a series of devastating plagues upon Egypt, each demonstrating his power and Pharaoh's stubbornness. The Nile turned to blood, killing all the fish. Frogs swarmed the land, contaminating everything. Gnats and flies tormented the people and their livestock. Disease ravaged the animals, and painful boils erupted on the skin of humans. Hailstorms destroyed the crops, and locusts devoured what remained. Darkness enveloped the land for 3 days, a darkness so thick it could be felt. Yet Pharaoh remained unmoved, his heart hardened against God's will. Finally, God sent the most devastating plague of all, the death of the firstborn. He warned that every firstborn son in Egypt would die. But he provided a way for the Israelites to be spared. They were to sacrifice a lamb and smear its blood on their doorposts. The blood would be a sign, and God would pass over those houses, sparing their inhabitants. That night, a cry of anguish echoed throughout Egypt. Pharaoh, broken by grief and fear, finally relented. He ordered the Israelites to leave Egypt immediately, taking all that they had. The Israelites left Egypt in haste, but Pharaoh soon regretted his decision. He gathered his army and pursued them, determined to bring them back. The Israelites found themselves trapped between the Red Sea and the pursuing Egyptian army. Fear gripped their hearts, and they cried out to Moses. Moses, filled with unwavering faith, told them to stand firm and trust in God. He raised his staff, and God parted the Red Sea. A path of dry ground appeared through the water, and the Israelites crossed over to safety. The Egyptian army followed them into the sea. But as the Israelites reached the other side, God released the waters, engulfing the Egyptian army and drowning them all. Freedom was secured. Moses' journey from reluctant leader to liberator is a testament to the power of faith and courage. He faced immense challenges, but he never wavered in his commitment to God and his people. His story reminds us that even in the darkest of times, hope remains. It teaches us that with God's help, we can overcome any obstacle and achieve the impossible. The enduring power of God's love is evident throughout the story of Moses. He saw the suffering of his people and intervened to set them free. Moses, the baby drawn from water, the prince who fled, the shepherd who listened, the leader who delivered. He spoke with God as a man speaks with a friend. He gave us the law, led a nation, and showed us what it means to trust a voice from a burning bush. And in the end, he pointed forward to another deliverer, another Passover lamb, another mountain, and a greater salvation. His story still burns like the bush that never consumed, a story of deliverance, obedience, and divine destiny. And that story is far from over. If the life of Moses moved you, remember this: God still calls ordinary people for extraordinary purposes. You don't need a palace or a perfect past to make a difference. You need a listening heart and willing hands. Like Moses, you may face doubt, fear, or wilderness seasons, but you're never alone. The same God who parted seas and spoke through fire still leads, still delivers, and still calls. Maybe, just maybe, He's calling you for such a time as this. Don't miss the next part of the journey. Subscribe, stay with us, and let these ancient stories shape your faith today. Thank you for watching. We hope you found this video informative and inspiring. Join us next time as we delve into another fascinating story from the Bible. Until then, may God bless you and keep you.